Welcome to NFL Talking Points. We are reacting to former NFL quarterback Cam Newton, obviously released by the New England Patriots. A couple of days. How many days ago was it now? Like a week or something?
We are literally coming up to a week, yeah.
Yeah. He has finally reacted or given an interview to, I think, his dad. We don't actually know. Unconfirmed reports, it may or may not be his dad. This is about 4 hours ago. We did watch it a little bit of it earlier. It's a Funky Friday with Cam Newton, and it is my side of the story is what he's put on there. So let's have a look, and I'm sure we'll give our input as we go.
Appreciate you for coming. What's good? What's going on? What's popping?
Can we have a go at his outfit?
I think that is a good place to start.
The hat and the hair. I will say, when I first saw this, I thought, there's a specific hole in his hat to put the hair out? But you know, that was my first take of this whole thing.
I'm actually lost for words.
And what decides what button to do up on his top? Why is it that? Why is it this one? Why is it that one? Why is it all of them? You know,
this is peak NFL analysis right here.
Yeah. Anyway,
talking about buttons,
literally.
What it is, what it ain't. What it could be, what it would be.
What could it have been if Cam Newton stayed? Realistically, like
an interesting season.
Yeah, it would have been more. I would think it would have been more fun. It is his dad. I can confirm.
I've got to be honest with you. I did not see that earlier for some reason.
I didn't either. I watched pretty much a good 25, 30 minutes. I did not even see that. I just thought he keeps calling him Pops. Like, surely that's his dad then.
So the fact he is Cecil Newton Sr., that means that there must be another Cecil Newton.
Yeah, must be another Newton. Another Cecil. Well, another, yeah.
Wow.
So check this out, man. You already know what we got going on. Herbal tea, by the way. Can I get my intro out of the way? You already know what we got going on. It's yours truly, Mr. Boogie.
I actually do love Cam Newton. Obviously, as a Carolina Panthers fan, like there's just that little bit. Even if when he talks, it actually makes me happy. But then I get flashbacks for not diving on the ball at Super Bowl 50. So it's give or take with him. Give or take.
And this is another episode of Funky Friday. I know you missed me. I know introduction. He's a person who I zoom in when I say this too.
Okay.
Because it's giving me like retirement vibes.
Is it retirement vibes?
Cam Newton isn't retiring. That's one thing I'm very confident of.
He's 100% not going to retire, but 32 years old, released by New England in favour of a young rookie quarterback who's never played in the NFL before. It screams retirement, doesn't it?
It does, but he has a point to prove. I look at the whole thing and think, one last dance, but where is the big question?
I can only think Texans.
There was talk of him actually, for some reason, literally before this clip that we are going to release later or when we can be bothered, was on Twitter. Cam Newton was trending, Cam Newton Giants, which I found very intriguing. But I didn't even bother clicking on it, thinking, surely not.
Over Dan Jones? Yeah, probably. It's a good option to have, but the whole system, I guess, isn't. I don't know. You have to learn.
Cam Newton does green New York. I have to be honest.
Big character in a big city. It would make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, Dan Jones isn't exactly like to raise the Giants as an actual franchise back to where it was. Obviously, the Eli Manning days with the 2 Super Bowls against New England Patriots. It would be quite apt for. Sorry about that one. It would be quite apt to have Cam Newton. Go to New York. I think that's quite a good show. Actually, I think that's quite a good fit. That's exactly it. Let's see what else. His retirement vibes.
Hey, that, you know what I mean? Let's cut to the chase. I know we know.
Your career is not over.
Absolutely not. You know, we got a little extra time on our hands, so we done took it out the back seat. You know, we got out the barber chair. You feel me? We got enough time to spend.
That's a haircut joke waiting to happen, isn't it? You can't say barber chair, then have, it's fine.
Believe it or not, they say barber chair quite a lot.
But is it actually a barber's chair or is it a Anyway,
I believe the barber's chair is reference for conversations.
Oh, right. I thought you meant the actual chair he's sitting on. Okay, right.
No.
Yeah, let's just, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I just needed some help to bring out a side that most people ain't used to seeing, cuz. You know what I mean? So this ain't what you think. This is definitely not that.
It's not a retirement party.
Let's get.
Don't get it, Jay.
I don't need no sympathy. I said that in my post. Man, don't feel sorry for me, bro. I'm straight. I'm good. I'm flourishing. You know what I mean?
Do you feel a little bit sorry for him though?
I do, because the offense in New England is so much better than what it was last season, 100%. But
yeah.
I've always had my doubts about Newton.
Yeah, I just get Super Bowl 50 flashbacks. It's fine. I'm over it in about when we
I believe the one major issue I think worth addressing with the whole Cam Newton situation is what is his game, and his game is running. The whole offense now, that much money spent in free agency, a majority of it being the offense, Cam Newton's expecting to pass the ball a lot more this year if he was QB1.
The issue with him is after his right shoulder injury and the surgery he had on it obviously it was impacting on him being able to throw the ball, as because when he was MVP season he was throwing the ball brilliantly, but I think why that's the perception of him running more than throwing is because the main highlights are of him running rather than of him throwing the touchdowns, because everyone can see throwing touchdowns but no one can see a man leap over 3 players. That's why I think they show the running so much. But yeah, since his shoulder injury, he hasn't been the same. It would have been interesting to see him with weapons to see what he actually can do and see if he can replicate his MVP season. But
I'll do it. But I would be remiss if I didn't, be honest. Did it catch me by surprise being released? Absolutely. You know what I'm saying?
Let me dive in. And what really floored me, and I think I admire you and how you conducted yourself as a man, proud of your home training and all of that. It floored the NFL world. Questions are still arising, even from the locker room to now they're trying to patch up. Some people are trying to patch up the reasons as to why the Patriots had to make this necessary decision. And we'll uncover and unpack some of that as well. Yeah. But how is it that you take first team reps in practice and in the final preseason game? And I'm saying, we're good. We're day one. I kept hearing Dollar Bill saying, Cam's our starter. When did some of that start changing? How did we get to the day one starter to sitting where we're sitting?
I don't know, but as I always say on this segment, I'm gonna always keep it funky.
Okay, enough of the funky. That's quite a lot to unpack from his dad. I sort of feel like I had to really concentrate to hear what he was saying. I guess he's just saying from being the main man in practice, how do you go from that, let's say, one day to the next day then being released?
The interesting thing about that is the next part, because a lot of people assumed when you hear that clip, you think it was all Cam Newton starting in practice. Mac Jones was purely the backup. But what happens in practice compared to what happens in the preseason games, the structure is completely different. And this is where the next bit will be very interesting.
Gotta keep it funky. And I wouldn't be myself if I didn't. But during that time, I started seeing signs of change, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm no
practice in the facility.
No, at practice.
Okay.
At practice. Now, as far as how they treated me, it was no different, But at the same time,
okay. Let me drive just a little bit. No disrespect, but you start seeing signs of this and that start happening. Was it in front of or behind the trip going to Atlanta in the 5 days? Did that constitute change? Give me that.
Dude, Do I think this would have happened without me being away from the team for 5 days? Honestly, yes.
It was going to happen.
Why was he away for 5 days anyway?
That is actually explained later in this episode of Funky Friday. But for listeners and viewers who want to know now, he wanted different opinions about how he is physically. Because I believe he's from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Originally. And it was out there where he first got diagnosed with the shoulder injury. So he wanted basically the physical checkup to ensure that he's basically still okay, that there's no lingering issues really, which I found fascinating, to be honest.
Wouldn't you fly someone to you, especially if you're just in pre-season? You can't take 5 days out of pre. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Cam Newton here, but you can't really take just 5 days out of pre-season. Just
the timing was bizarre, but I agree with Cam. I don't think that had any impact in the decision making. I believe that New England actually hid it well, and he was going to be released anyway. I do genuinely believe that. And it was hid so well, the likes of us, even NFL insiders, you think of all the dedicated media outlets dedicated purely to New England, ESPN, Fox, NFL Network, they had no idea. So you have to say New England dealt with it in a very clever way.
Yeah, and it was only the Boston Insider who actually released it, that he even got cut in the first place. It was almost a day later than New England actually announced it properly. But it's bizarre.
It was going to happen.
Inevitable.
Did it help ease the decision? Yes.
Well, why? How could you? And this is not an indictment with QB1, QB/10. We're not going to take jabs at him. Season, you kind of were in there playing for kibbles and bits, and they're giving you a used Civic. The passenger door is kind of dangling off, and it needs a tune-up. And you try to drive it and make the best out of it.
He's actually spot on though, isn't he? I like it. Is just like an absolute mess. Like a, I don't know what's the equivalent in the. They gave him like a Vauxhall Corsa with the doors hanging off, and this season Mac Jones can drive a, I don't know, nice Bentley with a few nice additions inside.
I would, for example, basically had not just a Corsa, a banged up Corsa. Now he's got a brand new Mercedes C-Class with the potential. It's not the best car out there, but it's a car a lot of people would like.
I can't disagree with anything that they've said so far either. That's the just like
Yeah.
So to your situation where you were less than awesome, you didn't awestruck a lot of people. So we deal with that. But now we recruit a whole new personnel base. And we telling them, now Cam is gonna get this opportunity. Man,
let's just throw this out there while it's on my mind.
okay.
They're going to win football games with Mac Jones.
But they were gonna win them with you as well.
That's a fact too.
All right.
But I don't want the audience to kind of think like, oh, he only saying that just because he's not there no more. Like, no, like Mac is good enough. I think when they picked him, the selection that they did pick him, they wanted to find out a couple things. And one of those things that they wanted to find out is he capable of leading this offense to be productive?
But let me be the devil's advocate. Just to the point of what's being discussed in the barbershop, and around the country, is that he basically took the job. I don't say, and I see the game clearly.
I wouldn't say that.
So if he's gonna win, but you're gonna take the keys from you, and you paid the greater commitment to sacrifice. I would even say if they would have come back and said, Cam, we're gonna give you a 3-game, 4-game stretch, and we're gonna reevaluate, where you are. I mean, no, they're not. We see that now, but I'm saying you would have thought you taking the first team reps, everybody saw you as the day one starter.
Again, there's quite a lot to unpack there. I mean, Cam Newton's actually, I have to say this, Cam Newton's been more I thought he'd be more annoyed about being released than what he's actually. He seems like he's quite. He's actually been. I mean, he's been nice and thoughtful about Mac Jones, to be honest.
That's the exact words I would have used. That he was diplomatic about Mac Jones.
That's diplomatic.
And I think it's definitely worth taking his opinion seriously. It's all very well seeing Twitter, whether it's certain fan bases, even journalists. Cam Newton's watched Mac Jones from day one since Mac Jones entered Patriot Way for the first time. And it shows you that Mac Jones is capable. Being capable and actually delivering, of course, are two completely different things. But what it shows me is there's a reason that Mac Jones was first draft. Yes, he wasn't number one overall. There were 2-3 quarterbacks. But you hear that a lot, that he's the most ready for the NFL. Only time will tell that he's clearly producing good things, whether it's on the practice field or pre-season, for even Cam Newton to come out with that. So I thought that was not only very dignified, but it's good that he's speaking facts from both sides of the argument.
Yeah, and I like that. I like that his dad's playing devil's advocate as well, hitting back. So it's not all just like a one-sided, Cam Newton.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
And because it's very easy to be partisan on this issue, which also comes up in this Funky Friday thing, if you like. But one thing that I found very interesting was he said that whether it's Mac Jones or himself, they will be winning football matches. So what that shows is the New England squad, the depth is a lot more. So that shows you, it should be quite exciting for Patriots fans that the team is going to be a lot better. So you're going to see more winning football. How much more is debatable, but the expectation has to be higher for New England this season.
Do you know how I took that? I took that as in, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, even if it's Mac Jones, Cam Newton, whoever else. Because of the system that's in place at New England, they're going to win games no matter who's playing, minus maybe not Brian Hoyer, but like a quarterback who can actually throw the ball consistently or make plays will be winning games no matter who it is at New England.
If you are a decent enough quarterback, 100%.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you call me from the facility, I'm floored. And you're going to go with an unproven commodity, and I ain't hating. But this game is, it hurts.
I'd love like a 2-hour podcast with his dad. I think it'll be an amazing podcast guest. But anyway, just the way he just talks, I love it.
The way you're looking at this situation is no different than any other person's parent that does look through it.
DBs, tackles,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
whatever.
And I think this was the first time that I really felt like, oh, I really see. Like, we watch Hard Knocks, we watch all these different shows, and you see them come into that room, and they have that realization that their career is over. Well, for me, I've been playing long enough to have got it remotely last 2 years ago with the Panthers, but I never really got that call where it come to the office. It was funny, as a matter of fact, to me. I'm laughing at it now, and I walked in. And they was like, oh, Cam. Yeah. Bill wants to meet with you. I'm like, okay, cool. But Bill's office down here, it was like, oh, no, he's in here. And that's when I was like, oh, okay. I see what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but go back to that thought where you start.
I think that's got to be the worst thing that anyone could ever say. Is like, oh, Bill Belichick wants to meet with you. Okay. I'll go see Bill. It's like the principal's office you got to go to, but you're in. Oh.
Yeah.
Awful.
Must be terrifying no matter who you are.
Was it a change in your practice performance? Because when we read this stuff, I'm just going to kind of attack folk who just put a lot of conjecture out there against who you were, and you didn't deserve this, and you're not part of what the Patriots represent. I mean, you're an NFL football player, okay? And to that support, how do you think you performed overall this preseason?
It was good. I mean, it was from the.
I will say one of the interceptions I did see wasn't his fault. Was it Myers who?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm glad you've paused at that point and pressed the brightness button by mistake there. But we both he wasn't convincing there. The way he just went, oh, good.
Let's have a look.
If you're that disappointed
Let's
you
analyze his
say-
face. Let's analyze his face here.
To that support, how do you think he performed overall this preseason?
It was good. Yeah.
As if to say, I've done okay. I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't brilliant. And this is, I think, a big talking point because Cam Newton, with that experience, yes, he had his injury problems. Cam Jones should be beating Mac Jones for that QB1 spot.
Yeah.
I know there's the big debate. Did Mac Jones actually beat him? Or was it more a case New England just taking a gamble? That will ramble on. But in my opinion, Mac Jones should have been close to Cam Newton based on what Cam Newton's done in the past. So, and that is an example. And the whole persona gets noticed by all these different coordinators, the general management, and of course the head coach himself, Bill Belichick. They probably were expecting Cam to get dramatically better. And although it was only pre-season and of course the mini camps, etc., that didn't materialize. And so I think that's really intriguing because on his own show, there's no NFL insiders asking the questions. This is his own dad. He could have easily have said, yeah, I was miles better than Mac Jones. But he didn't because that would have been a lie. So I think personally, Jamie, that's a very interesting little segment we're seeing there.
Definitely.
It was good. I mean, it was from.
You are right. The way he stutters, like he isn't 100% conviction. He doesn't have full conviction about himself. It is like as you said, it could have been better. It probably could have been worse as well. To be fair,
The hand that I was dealt, it was manageable. You know, it was respected. You know,
In the practices that we couldn't see, we at the mercy of people who tweeting stuff.
yeah, but I've had this conversation with my assistant,
Yeah.
Quentin,
Yeah.
and I was saying a lot of.
I love that his assistant is called Quentin as well. I love that because isn't Julio Jones? What's Julio Jones' actual name?
Quintorius.
Quintorius. So it's made me think of that. It's a fantastic name.
Tweets and a lot of information when you're talking about fan pages and up-to-date things come from biased lips. You know, if they are a Cam fan, Mac can't do nothing right. If they are a Mac fan, Cam can't do nothing right.
Yeah.
So you got to toe the line on what's real.
Balance reporting.
Right.
I like that. That is 100% true though, because obviously I'm going to be biased for Cam. As soon as he was released as well, then I put it straight in the group saying it's a disgrace sort of thing, because obviously his 7-8 years at Carolina. I pointed at my hat, but it's not even there. At Carolina, obviously it's going to sway me because he took us from being one of the worst NFL franchises to a team that should have had at least one Super Bowl ring. But I don't know. You see, I mean, he's spot on though. You see reporters, they don't just report the news anymore. This could be NFL, or I'm going to go worldwide. They report their opinion or who they work for opinion, and then they just promote that opinion rather than giving their own and being neutral.
And that is the fascinating thing, is that yes, a lot of people were, and I think it is a majority, were anti-Cam, pro-Mac. And I've got to be honest, I'm in the pro-Mac camp.
Yeah.
I just think the whole persona of Mac Jones is just more New England. Cam Newton suits other franchises. He suited Carolina. I never felt that there was the fit. However, there was a lot of Newton supporters in New England. He got a lot of new fans. And he deserves credit for that because he won a lot of people over. There were moments where I was more on the bandwagon than you jump off because the inconsistencies were ridiculous last season. But there are a lot of fans now that are still not convinced by Mac Jones and feel that Cam Newton should be QB1 in New England, which is fascinating. But what for me shows, Jamie, that Mac Jones is the more popular choice. And I personally think this is incredible. This is no reflection of what actually is going to happen in the NFL. But Mac Jones being the second most sold jersey since August the 1st in the entire NFL. Josh Allen surprised me as number one, but Mac Jones second. And then the likes of Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes behind Mac Jones. It probably did Patriots fans jumping on a bandwagon. But this is not since last week, since the Cam Newton news released. this is since August the 1st. During the whole month of August, no one had any idea who's going to be QB1 for the Patriots. So I personally find that really intriguing, that something about Mac Jones gets a lot of NFL fans worldwide abroad. Then that's not just in America. You see a lot of Patriots jerseys in the UK, and I know that you sometimes get the ump that wherever you look, there seems to be someone that you know who's keen on the Patriots. So I just find that a really fascinating situation we find ourselves in.
It's biased.
Yeah.
It's biased.
Yeah.
It's always going to be in favor of why they believe things should be what they are. But yet, needless to say, you know, that time with me finding out and kind of seeing things different, when I look back at it, I was probably getting 2 reps to his 10 reps. And that's why it was starting to make sense.
13 reps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, even though I was started, that doesn't necessarily mean nothing. And I think that's where they did a good job with kind of disguising it, you know.
I mean, the fact that he's only getting 2 reps compared to Mac Jones's 8 to 10. I mean, that is. I mean, I would have at that point in time, I would have thought he would be looking for another franchise, not being like, isn't this weird that this rookie is getting 6 to 8 more reps than I am? Isn't that?
It shows the writing was on the wall, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And the only reason that Cam didn't quite clock, so that's a very good point that you make. However, Cam Newton was getting the reps first. So whether it's preseason or training camps, because there was also the training camps were actually really competitive. Yes, they were against the Giants and Eagles, but they're against, of course, teams with their first teamers on the practice field. The standard was probably higher on the practice field than it was in preseason. And Cam Newton starting created a false perception because New England, the offensive coordination, designed the plays so the main quarterback would be coming in later on. And that's what happened. Cam Newton was starting it just to see if he can exceed expectations. That didn't happen straight away. Mac Jones is in. He was obviously getting a good few throws in, so they continued with him. And it was very cleverly done by the Patriots.
Snaky, I think, is the word that you're looking for from the England Patriots.
It is clever. It's clever because it creates that false deception. These are experienced coaches.
They know what they're doing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. They play the system, which creates a lot of division in the NFL. But how many times has it worked in the past?
Yeah, I'll give you that.
So Cam took first team reps today. But they didn't know the practice structure was, okay, first team goes down, second team goes back, and then the first team comes back too.
Right.
And that's when he was getting his reps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
was that before Atlanta trip or after Atlanta trip?
It was the same time. You got to look at the production in the preseason. You know, I would get the first 2 to 3 series. Yeah. He would take it from second quarter all the way into the third, late.
But I also, to your defense, and I'm not going to always be to your defense because there are going to be some subjects that we talk about that, I'm going to step on the other side of the aisle against what the perception of who Cam Newton is. But you see how his game plan and plays were structured to his specific strengths, and kind of like you were just kind of like in this ebb and flow of just a basic offensive attack. I was thinking they were trying to disguise it and hold it for later for the season. But we come out with these naked boots and all this and all that. What was up with that?
As all my preseason game plans are kind of watered down, lethargic, vanilla, but yet through it all, my performance or my skill set won't show in the preseason because
everybody playing poker. They ain't showing you nothing.
You got quarterback runs, you got design runs, you got the scrambling ability. And there were times where I feel like I could have scrambled this preseason, but I'm like, man, I'm saving myself
to extend the play. Yeah,
I'm saving myself, for the season.
Yeah.
But
I bet he regrets that now, doesn't he?
I find that really fascinating. I don't know about you, Jamie. I listened to that earlier on. I've listened to it again. I think it's quite an astonishing comment to make. The reason I say that is I get what he is saying, but you're not Tom Brady. You're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not an established quarterback at your current team. you was at Carolina for a long time, so you could get away with it. But you're fighting for your place in New England, and if it's camp and preseason, and everything you do is watered down, Bill Belichick's not going to be impressed by that. Bill Belichick is expecting to see all the skill sets now, and he. So you can see why New England got the ump with that. I mean, how do you read that?
No, it's exactly that. I mean, I remember watching videos of Bill Belichick, like even when in practice, and you got the offense and defense like hitting each other, and he's there just laughing and smiling on the side because he's like, "This is what I want. I want like 100% on the practice field. I want 100% in preseason," and that's why New England are so successful. The fact that I took two things away from that. One is obviously the watered down in the way that he did preseason, which I'm sure many players do across the whole of the NFL. It's not just him; it's many players do. But it's also how the system at New England is set up, not for a quarterback like him. It is set up for someone who's going to stand in the pocket and throw it 40 times a game. It's not set up for a Cam who's going to throw it 25, maybe 30 times and run another 10, 15 times. That's just not how it's going to happen in New England. So, give and take with that. But yeah, it is actually quite a fascinating interview, to be fair. So well played to his dad. Fantastic interviewer. But I'm looking forward to him criticising Cam. He did say he would, but we'll see.
Let me say this too. I'm not bitter. I don't want nobody to think.
Understood.
I don't think he's bitter either. I think he seems like just like mac and cheese, fair play. Let's move on to the next place.
I think that he had to do this video. On his own YouTube channel, it does come across vain, and I can see why people would criticize that. But he had to, because the stories, as you can imagine, as we've seen for ourselves, were so one-sided. So I don't blame him at all for doing his own video, hearing his side of the story. And it's so far it's not been too bitter. There's a couple of questionable points, which is natural. But overall, you have to say he's well within his rights to give his own side, 100%.
I think so. I actually quite like I like the format that they're doing, but I like that you never really hear straight from the source. So this was on Tuesday. I think it got released on the Thursday. I think it was.
Yeah.
So
to fair, a lot of people at New England were towing the party line because it took Boston Globe a couple of days later to release
report it,
the news. Yeah.
Now I sit in this seat and at 32 with more understanding about that. There's nothing that I could do. And I would say, like, Mac Jones didn't beat me out. No. But I would have been a distraction knowing that if they would have gave him the starting role, they knew the perception that it would have had, if the success didn't come as they were percent. Even if they would have get and somebody said it best. Let's say, for instance, you are still there. You are the starter. Okay. With that roster, you can win right now.
Right now.
If you go 4-1 or 5-0,
you're locked in.
You
can't unseat that.
Okay. And interesting points all around again from Cam. So Mac Jones, I guess the first bit out of that, Mac Jones didn't beat him out. It's obvious that he did because one was named starting. So the thing is, if Cam Newton's named starting quarterback, Mac Jones isn't getting released. Fact. Okay. So this clearly, Mac Jones was named number one because Bill Belichick thought that Mac Jones is better right now. Going into we know it's Mac Jones' first season. We're not saying he's actually better than Cam Newton, but I'm saying from what only we know,
Mac Jones what Bill Belichick saw along with Josh McDaniels.
Exactly, that's what he saw, and obviously he's gone for Mac Jones as his number one, and as Cam says it, with his perception, which is the fancy outfits, he has this special connection with any crowd that he goes with, that he just loves crowds and he gets the energy and the buzz off them. He does make, as you say, like even New England fans like him, even though there was no fans there last season. He just has that connection. So to have that as a backup quarterback is it just wouldn't work. I think Cam knows that. That's why he's not annoyed about it, because he knows full well that situation.
Which is a bit contradictory, because I think he's trying to say the right things when he said, I would have been back up to Mac Jones, but he's answered his own question or any doubts as to why he can't be back up to Mac Jones because of the distraction. And if Mac Jones, with Cam Newton still at the Patriots, had a bad start, there had been calls from pundits, even certain fans, demanding Mac Jones to be dropped, destroying Mac Jones' confidence, and there's Cam in the background. I mean, can you imagine every time Mac Jones does a bad play, where it's an interception or attempting something Cam Newton would attempt, a 15-yard run, and then fumbles the ball, perfectly plausible to happen. The first thing you'll see is Cam Newton on the bench, where he's doing he won't mean it to put off Mac Jones, because that's just who Cam Newton is. But all the little shenanigans would have been just too much. Whereas if you look at it now, when Brian Hoyer inevitably resigns as the backup, but Brian Hoyer is no threat to Mac Jones.
Are you not going to say that when Mac Jones doesn't complete a pass, the camera's not going to cut to Brian Hoyer sitting there like this on the bench, just like...
Pretty much, because Brian Hoyer is grateful to be there. And again, it's how the situation is managed. And from your point of view, you thought you was quite annoyed at New England, your initial reaction for releasing Cam Newton. But when the dust settles down, you can totally see why New England released him.
If he wasn't,
it's a case of...
I think it's a double-edged sword. We're on it anyway, aren't we? Right. But I think we both agree. I think he also says it later on in this interview that he is better. He's not worse than 32 quarterbacks in this league. Like
so he can't be backup quarterback. So the whole thing about him coined a lie as he's too strong, but I think it was a bit tongue in cheek when he said, "Are we backup quarterback to Mac Jones?" I think if the question from his dad was, would you have been backup quarterback to Mac Jones for the whole season? The answer would have been absolutely not. Cam Newton was saying that from the point of view, yeah, I'll be back up for a little while, knowing I'll get my opportunity. And New England were not prepared to take that risk. Exactly,
yeah. And also, I guess what we are saying is that he should be a starting quarterback somewhere else.
Yeah.
We're not saying that he's not. Obviously, I want to make clear, we're not saying that he's not good enough. And yes, he has the perception of his lavish lifestyles and his quite, as you can see, incredible outfit choices. Shout out to his brand. They called it iconic something, but it's everything. I'm trying not to say the words. It's not a circus, but it's like I'm not saying circus is a bad thing, but it's like everything that's with the showman that he is. It's everything that comes with. He's
very maverick, isn't it?
But it's very. He's a star, isn't he?
Yeah, in his own way, without performing, without always performing. Yeah, he will always be center of attention.
Yeah, and that's QB1. That is a leader of a franchise. And as you said earlier, Giants, Texans, Eagles, even depending on Jalen Hurts, potentially for him.
I think it could be a similar thing at the Eagles, where they want Jalen Hurts to succeed. They sign Cam. It'd be a distraction again. Pretty much wherever Cam goes, you'd be very, very surprised if he went anywhere as a backup quarterback. He surely only goes somewhere if he's getting that starting role.
Yeah, has to be. I mean, all I can think of is he's not number 33 quarterback. He's better than Dan Jones. He's better than Andy Dalton. He's better than. I mean, Andy Dalton's a weird case. It's like you can think of every other quarterback, and he's better than most of them. I'm saying most of the bottom tier ones. Obviously, you know, I'm not going to do a massive tier list right now of where Cam Newton is in the 32, but you can name a few names and be like, he's better than Gardner Minshew.
It's very subjective as well, isn't it?
But it is what it is, man. Ain't no need to belabor the fact, man. Listen, I wish everybody nothing but love and respect and health throughout this year, man.
Be safe,
McClennan is a well-deserving player. McClennan. Mac and cheese, Mac 10, whatever you want to call him, man. He did do what what he came to do. He proved that he can be productive, and he will be productive.
Yeah, well, he got a body of work to kind of prove that
But
too.
yeah, at the end of the day,
The paper can make you an All-American, bro. Let me just say, they can put everything on paper that this guy is all that advertised. Sunday afternoons is going to disclose whether you are as advertised, my brother.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
One love. See, that's his, you know.
It is who he is, but can you imagine? We thought that when he first signed for New England. I just could imagine Bill Belichick must have seen that all year round, and he must have been despairing because you don't get much emotion out of Bill Belichick anyway.
Any final words on this saga for Cam Newton and the New England Patriots?
To be honest, I think there's a couple of intriguing things, but overall, I think it panned out as we expected. Ultimately, pretty much from day one, New England just hit it very clever. As soon as they drafted Mac Jones, they wanted Mac Jones now. And the fact that Mac Jones was producing based on the offensive playbook was a bonus for New England. It made it easier to get rid of Cam Newton. From Cam Newton's point of view, could he have done better with that offense? Only time will tell. The interesting thing is whether he will sign for a competitive team. So, I mean, there's for me no chance he'll sign for a team that is better than New England, because a team better than New England's already got their main quarterback. The top team should already have that. But whether he will sign for a team that's roughly at New England's level now, and then that's how you compare the two. Because if he signs for a team like the Texans are not going to be as good as the Patriots. So This is where it's a really sticky subject for me.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. Obviously, I think the Giants is a great shout. I think he's better than Dan Jones, and I think he makes them NFC East contenders, to be totally honest.
And to be fair to the Giants are still going to have a few really iffy performances. But if you've got a fit Kenny Golladay and a fit Sterling Shepard, you could certainly have worse receivers out there. And plus, Evan Engram is a decent size end. And of course, the injury-prone Saquon Barkley is fit for now. Cam Newton as part of that offense, NFC East-wise, that is competing with Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys. So, I agree with you. I think there's no better destination right now than the New York Giants.
Do you know who is the general manager and senior vice president at the New York Giants?
I should know, but I don't.
It is former Carolina general manager David Gettleman, who helped bring in Cam Newton to Carolina. So, wow. I mean, that'd be the obvious move. I think it'll be Dan Jones will be given a few games, and then if he's terrible, then I think that's open. That opens the door for Cam Newton, unless he signed earlier. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Thanks for watching, listening. Different style of video than we've ever done before. So hopefully, we'll see in the edit if it comes off well. But be sure to like the video, subscribe, and if you do like it, then we'll do more.